I am a professional interior designer. I have been for over 3 decades until we moved to Ohio, and I'm going to talk about why we made that move. But personally, I have been married to my husband, Bob, for over 50 years. We have 3 adult kids and their spouses. We have 9 grandchildren, 8 are girls, 1 little guy, Max Man. So keeping track of 17 of us in our immediate family, plus sisters and all of that family, life can be very rewarding and very busy. There's a reason I'm saying this, because downsizing helps us to honor them, and you'll hear a lot about how that honors them, but also it frees up our time to be able to share experiences with our families rather than having to take care of all our stuff, okay? And now, because of all of that, I have to put on my glasses wherever they are. Here. The mic situation had me a little bit, whatever. So, how many of you have downsized? Awesome, good for you. How many are planning on downsizing? Excellent. I'm in that group. I've downsized, but now I have to, because it's not one and done, right? I mean, life happens, it continues. Okay, so we're going to get started, but I want to tell you that there are layers, as Katherine said, to downsizing. Layers. And so I'm going to cover a lot at the end of what the top 10 essential reasons are your handout. So don't think I'm not working from what your handout is. It's at the end, so you intentionally, so you'll remember and have takeaways, okay? But the reason I believe the number one downsizing, absolute most important to do it now, is life will change, right? It's not if, it will. Look at the last 2 years. How many of us ever thought we would go through that? So that was a life change, not an if it will change. And let me share how that relates to my husband and I. And we bought, after our kids left, our 30-year-old home no longer worked for us. We had all these rooms we weren't using. We had a basement where the kids hung out. We never went. We had a swimming pool. Nobody used it. So we moved. And not only did we move, we bought a 1930s, what some people say would call it a rent-a-wreck. Many people said tear it down, but we wanted a restoration. And boy, did we restore it. But what occurred was, it was designed by moi. My husband, we called him Bob the Builder. He did a lot of it. It was our forever home. It was an aging in place home in so many ways. We had 36-inch wide doorways. We had no step from the garage. We had a dedicated elevator space if we would need it. You name it, we had it. And I will have an aging in place online course coming probably by this summer that you'll be able to purchase. So we were all set. We were in our aging in place home. Some of you may have been there, I know. The last Symphony Show House tour, Designer Digs, we had over 500 people there. And the biggest question, or the most prevalent question was, We didn't know this was an aging in place home. That's the secret. You do it so it doesn't look that way. So again, we were all set, except, remember number 1, life will change, get ready. 2016, end of 15, Bob was diagnosed with stage 4 metastasized lung cancer. Never smoked. So what did that do with our plan of staying there forever? Gone. I don't know how many couples have that conversation with each other about where do you want to stay if you're alone. Now, I understand that many of you have faced that situation and are living it now. But the conversation, even to oneself, is this where I want to be forever? Does it work for me? Bob and I said, we built this house together. We did it together. No, he didn't want to stay there without me, and I certainly didn't want to stay there without him. So what's plan B? You see why this is number 1. Life will change. Be ready. It's not if, it's when. Okay, number 2. Your children will kiss your feet. How many of you have had to take care of a family or loved one's home possession? Was it enjoyable? Did you love it? No. Yeah. So we do this for those we love. We show them how much we care for them by taking care of our things now. It is a really high regard for your feelings for your children. And I say children, you know what I mean, your adult kids or grandkids, whomever, or a close aunt or friend, somebody. Okay, let's get back to basics. Who of you is going to live forever? Right? So we're all going to not be here at some point, and none of us know when. So, number 2, your kids will kiss your feet. Number 3, for most of us, a real, true downsizing is like a house cleanse. You get rid of all the toxic stuff. And if we had more time, I would go into how really it is toxic when you think of, unless we're super good cleaners, all those dust mites, all that stuff we're learning more about. But anyway, forget about that. It's just the idea of having a peaceful, organized home. And that usually doesn't occur without what we're talking about. I think people will experience more energy because do you know that clutter causes confusion and it causes stress? How many times are we looking for something? Or how many times do we have a lot of clutter on our counters or wherever? You know why? Because behind those doors or in that closet, there are things that are stuffed in there that we never use. So we don't have our good organization, which leads to downsizing purposes and reasons. Okay? See how multi-layered this all is? It's not just, okay, getting rid of things. That is not downsizing. That alone is one, it's like Katherine said, it almost gives a negative connotation. That's why one of the reasons in 2006, maybe something like that, I had a trademark put on the name Lifesizing, because doing all these things is working to the stage we're in to have the best quality of life we can at a particular stage. 50, 60, 70, 80, and on. We change what we do, we change our goals. This is why we're downsizing, i.e. life-sizing. Okay, number 4, do not avoid, this one I usually get a lot of eyes rolling. Do not think you've downsized if you've rented storage units. Guess who's going to have to unload and deal with those units? Also, it's not a total downsizing if you have put things in the basement or in a closet upstairs or wherever, because you can look in your closet and, oh, this looks great, but there's a whole world somewhere else. So that's not a complete downsizing. We know that because we lived in an apartment for 2.5 years while we were doing remodeling, restoring this house. So because Bob and I were both, my business was doing super, I was thrilled about that, but I had no time to really do this. At least that was my excuse, right? I don't have the time. Bob was working full-time, traveling. He didn't have time. So our house sold, and we used the storage. We were the ones that had 3 storage units. So then, when we were in like a 900 square foot apartment, we loved it. We didn't miss anything. It was amazing how simple and beautiful life was without less stuff. It's just a mind boggler why we think we need so many things. And I'm not a minimalist per se, but I have learned to live with a lot less. And life is easier. But then when we, when we moved to our house, when it was finished, one of the worst experiences was having to deal with all that stuff that was in the storage unit. So it was a fake downsizing, and we knew it, but I'm using this as an example. Okay, so we are your children, let me see. Okay, this you may not agree with me, but it's definitely what I believe. It's the absolute truth for me is to give things away. I really find that rewarding. When I have things in my closet that I haven't worn for years and years and years, and other things, give you an example. A dear friend of mine supports an orphanage in Africa, and some of you know who that is. And so I store up shoes, clothes, whatever. And she sends a crate over once a year. And that was a couple years ago, because we've been gone, you know. So I hear from her a couple months ago, and she said, Mitzi, I heard from the ladies that run the orphanage in Africa, and she said to tell you they pray for you all the time. I mean, really. You don't think that gave me more joy than if I sold things or had an estate sale? Of course that you wouldn't do that for clothes. And I don't ditz estate sales. I think they're wonderful, and we'll talk about what to do with your things. Katherine is an expert on this. Anybody that needs their houses, what do I want to say, more than downsized. Anyway, the items dispersed, her crew is phenomenal for this. So I'm talking about a separate thing. So we'll move on. So to live a less stressful life, possess less. I'm going to give you the example of my clothes closet. I talked to somebody here recently. If you go in your closet, and I mentioned this too, you stand there and you go, no, 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 maybe, okay, I can wear that. That's stress. And we talked about the stress. But what we learned was that we live on so little. And do you know that one of the things is we live in 80%, 20% of our spaces. If you look at your home, you'll calculate you're only in 20%. So it's the same with what we own. If you think of your whole home and all the possessions, it's about 20%. You think of the utensils, you think of your dishes, you think of your appliances, you think of what you wear, 20, 30%. So when you're doing this downsizing, you think about, okay, because those questions we're going to go over. Now, 8 is acknowledge that everything you own takes up real estate and requires maintenance. Everything. If you have things displayed, what? They have to be dusted, or should be, or cleaned. Everything. So what about all that behind closed doors? That someday will have to be taken care of, and things that even that you don't see, they're still taking up real estate. And when I talked about organization, that's really one of the key factors why people aren't more organized and why they're frustrated, because there are too many things taking up. When I do an organization thing, I do A spaces, B, C. And if your A spaces are all crowded with stuff you never use, well, that's where the issue is. Going through the last two quickly. Number 9 is everyone is looking and admires those individuals that do have an organized, peaceful home. Now, it may not stay organized and peaceful all the time, but the majority of the time it is. One of the best things I heard from people in the homes, we've lived across the country, and when our kids were little, that didn't happen all the time. But as, you know, empty nest and all, and we've been in different places, my most treasured comment was, oh, Mitzi, your home feels so peaceful. And people can come in and sit down and relax. Also, it also shows people what your spaces are about. They know, so we could talk all day, but we'll move on. Lastly, and again, I put this as like right up there with number 1. We want to live life. We want to experience life. Most of us are over the accumulating, the collecting. We are into life itself. As we said from the number 1, life will change. We don't know. And so I don't want to be bogged down by my things and my stuff. So that is a huge reason. Very quickly, I've done CEUs across the country, which is continuing education units. One of the ones was my favorite. It was marketing and designing for millennials through boomers. And one of the most interesting research facts I found out was, we don't think we have that much in common with the different demographics, but we do. And this was a lot of millennials. It may not be your kids or your grandkids, but demographic research says that they are into living life, concerts, eating out, being with friends, traveling. They don't care so much about having their home be filled and perfect. That's not their shtick. I give the example of one millennial had hardly any furniture, but he had a $5,000 bike because that was important to him. This is a big trend happening for the 50 plus. They are out there. They're not connected to accumulating and in their home. So if that's the case, why are we not ridding it out, as Ohio people say? Why do we need all that? Okay, let's go to your handout. Okay, excuse me. Cindy, do you want to collect? Is Cindy around? Do you want to collect those handouts? Yes, she'll pass up a thing. There's two enemies that maybe some of you aren't going to be happy that I talk about. One is procrastination, and that is delayed decision making. The other is out and out refusal. I'm not going to downsize. I don't need to. I'm staying. I'm fine. All's well. Those are the two major enemies of downsizing. When to downsize? When you can, not because you have to. This is a biggie. Do it while you are physically able, or have Katherine's organization, company, Downsizers Club, to know the steps to take. It is not pretty if we wait too long. So, and if we have, many have, no problem. Katherine, she's your answer. So it's a very big, to get your mind around this is what this is all about. One just has to make up one's mind. Is this important to you or to those that will come after you? So that's when. 2 is how to decide. These are easy questions, but before we ask the questions in closing here pretty soon, is basically, say you're doing your china cabinet, if we have china cabinets, okay? Get everything out. Put it on the dining room table, kitchen counter, whatever. Piles, 3 piles. Love it, gonna keep it. 2, not so sure pile. 3, out of here, okay? Then, within those piles, you ask yourself, do I love it? Do I treasure it? And be honest. Be honest, because you can't keep it all if you're going to downsize. You can fool yourself, but it really is just fooling yourself. Really analyze. And number 2 also, will I ever use it? I mean, I remember a program where they were talking about their appliance garage, and they took all these appliances out. And they thought, waffle iron, when's the last time we did, all these things. So that comes under will I use it. This one really spoke to me, number 3. Will I be excited to unpack it? That's the real test. Number 4, should I just toss it? And the last thing I'm saying here is no guilt, you all. You don't have to keep every gift every kid or every friend gave you. You can't downsize with guilt. You keep what's important, you filter, and you decide. So where to put, okay, and under how to decide, set time limits, you all. It's almost impossible to do this in one clean sweep. And I have an online course. If you go to my site, well, it's a Cliff Notes version talking about some things that we didn't cover today. MitziBeach.com under products, $10. There's a lot in there. But do it at your best time of day. I'm a morning person. By mid to late afternoon, my kids, they used to say, her lights are on, but she ain't home. So that is not my best time of day. This is a mental exercise. You have to be sharp, but you can't be sharp for 5 days in a row. Schedule it. Take breaks. Think about being nice to yourself. And then do only one area at a time. So what to do with those items? We already talked about friends, family, etc. We had our adult kids come, and they picked out the furniture, the furniture, the furniture. What about Grandma's china? No, Mom, we don't use that. It's like, so that, I think I missed that one. Sorry. Get the realization that your adult kids probably will not want much of your, many of your possessions. And we try to have the sensitivity to not be guilting. I was guilty of that myself. I have 2 sons and a daughter. And, you know, daughter-in-laws we treat differently, at least a lot of us do, than our daughters. And so I put some pressure on my daughter, and she did not like it. And I had to learn very quickly, okay, honey, I get it. So friends or family, donate it to charity. We talked about garage sales, estate sales, eBay. Many people do it online, Facebook marketing and all those, or trash it. So we're going to just mention here about the $10 downsizing on my site, also the book. But the major resource that I want to leave with you is Katherine's Downsizer Club. This is brand new. And this is not everywhere, you all. You have a real opportunity here to take advantage of this. And I just can't say enough about how creative and relevant Katherine's effort to help people is. So, and I want to mention Sharon Nelson. Nelson Design provided all these books for you all. Mm-hmm. And Sharon's shop, it's in Bradley Fair. No, the shop's at Tallgrass. I always forget that demarcation. You talk about having furniture for your next, I always say next life. Sharon has many transitional pieces, and what I mean by that is not style. I mean sizes. It's a mistake at certain stages of life sizing, to be purchasing big furniture, because where's it going to go if you're moving? Or like Bob and I did. We have about 1,500 less square feet. So that meant not everything was going, right? So Nelson Design can help with that. And like I said, Catherine's Empowering Seniors Downsizing Club. And with that, we're going to take some questions if you have any.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll ask some questions as we go, and if you have questions, raise your hand, and we can either do a mic run, or if you get the question, you want to do a mic run, that'd be great. I'm not sure that Mitzi will be able to speak. No, or you could get the question and then say it loud to us, and we'll repeat it up here. Okay, so you'll tell her your question, and she will let us know, and I'll repeat it so everyone can hear. As we talk a little bit more about this, this is the enrollment form for Downsizers Club if you're interested. You don't need to pay today, but just let us know you think you're interested in it, and I'll tell you more about it. But that way we can kind of plan for the group. We will do it at PBS right here. There's a beautiful community room. It's a gorgeous classroom, and we're going to do it the first Tuesday of every month, 2 to 3:30. It's going to be small group where we're going to break down all of these things. We're going to teach an education module each time, do Q&A each time, and then also do small group accountability. We're going to give you homework. Now, if you don't want to do homework or you have your own homework you want to do, that's fine, but we're going to give you things that you can work on if you'd like to. And also, it'll be like a support group where you say, well, I'm going to tackle the extra bedroom in my basement. And then you can come back next month and tell your small group how that went. So we're going to kind of help hold each other accountable. And I know that I need to work on these things too, so I'm going to be doing it right along with you. So this is something for planners. This is something for learners to really break it down on your own and to know if and when you want to utilize professionals to come in and help.
May I interrupt you?
Sure.
Also, your adult children can learn a lot on how they can help you. My kids came from out of state and were a great help, but not everyone can or knows what to do. I'd been prodding them for a lot of years, but this is something that this can definitely help with.
Absolutely. In fact, what we find with downsizing and really almost any aging topic is that when kids are helping their parents, they think, oh my gosh, I've got to do this too.
Right,
So they
exactly.
set up appointments with the wealth advisors. They set up appointments with the estate planning attorneys. They get their bookwork in order. Busy D Haskins, stand up. D is who we refer to have someone that wants help with paperwork. Sometimes
That's a biggie.
it's a biggie.
Oh.
And my company, we don't do that. We don't
They
go
don't
through
do
your
windows.
photos. We don't go through your papers. But Dee will, and she'll help you organize everything into really nice 3-ring binders or however you might like to do it. All of these services are very affordable too, by the way. And it's really a ministry that you do. It's not something you have to do. You love doing it. Like, it takes a village to do all these things.
It really does.
So again, if you fill these out today, there's no obligation, but if you think you want to join, let us know so we can plan on it. You can pay by check today or next month when we start it in April, or you can go online and register and pay by credit card. We won't be accepting any credit card information directly. You can do it through our PayPal system. Okay, so enough on that. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
We've been planning this for 3 years. Darn COVID.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So we're ready to rock with it now. And you're right, there's nothing like this anywhere else. I know of a small group in Oklahoma City and a small group in Reno. That's it. Like, I stay on top of everything that's going on for seniors and downsizers and boomers all over the country. And so our television program is unique. Our new program with Mindy East, Ageless Enthusiasm, unique. No other cities have this. So when Terry said...
Not yet.
Not
But
yet.
we're predicting Katherine will be seen in a lot of places.
That's right. Because Terry said we're practicing on you today. Guess what? We're practicing on you all the time. We are going to learn how to get this good so we can go to other cities and help other professionals help more people. Do you agree that this is just overwhelming, everything to do with aging? And if it's not aging, just everything to do with all the stuff. Do you remember George Carlin and his stuff
Yeah.
comic
Yeah.
skit? That was so funny. All right, well, let's get on with the questions. I loved your, do I love it? Do I treasure it? You know, we've heard about that. You know, you hold it and you decide, does this bring me joy? But I really think, will I ever use it? Because that's why it's hidden in the basement, because I don't use it. Why am I attached to it psychologically? It's so psychological. So we're going to break this down in Downsizers Club. Will I be excited to unpack it? Are you excited to open up all your Christmas ornaments every year and all your Christmas stuff? Maybe some of you are and some of you aren't. Sometimes it's a drudgery. Sometimes, you know, we meet people that are like, I am so done with this. Next year I'm going to do an itty bitty little tree or nothing. Why is it so hard to toss things, Mitzi? Why do you think it's hard to let it go?
Well, to be kind, we identify with these things we have as part of our identity, part of our life, part of our memories. Real quick, I keep saying real quick, but the past is past, the future ain't yet, we only have now. So if we're hanging on to our past, as kindly as I can say it, you all wonderful people, check yourself. Why? So I think that is a biggie, and then the guilt thing. I can't let it go. She gave that to me. What? She doesn't care. We care. And if she does care, we can explain. We can't keep everything. Thank you, darling. My mother-in-law had every card we sent for like 40, 50 years. And bless her heart, she thought it was important, but she never looked at them. And we had to look at them. Okay?
Mm-hmm. It's so sweet. You know, it's because we love people and we love the memories, and it's really hard to let it go.
Absolutely. That's why this is a mental thing.
But you're right when you say that things can change at any time. What if something totally dramatic happened to you and your family, or happened to all of us in the whole country, in the whole world? How important is that stuff? What's a better use of that space? So sometimes people think about downsizing as decluttering, and we don't need to get into semantics. If you want to call decluttering downsizing, that's fine. How I usually use it as decluttering is decluttering the home you're in, organizing the home you're in. Downsizing is having less things so you can live better somewhere else. Hoarders. Probably some of you think you're a hoarder. I doubt very many of you are, but people just have this thing where they think that. But hoarding is really a challenge. And if someone is really a hoarder, it's almost impossible to help them declutter. They might just live like that until they pass or they move to assisted living, because it's a real psychological issue, and until you know where you're going and what size space you have, it's really difficult to know how much you're going to keep, because you don't know how many bedrooms, how big your dining is. Even if you're
upgrading. You don't have any plans of moving, but you are getting your home ready for this stage of life, checking the lighting, safety issues. And so it's not always just where you're going to next for downsizing. And these folks can help with that too. It's just the idea of being ready, right, Katherine?
Right.
Life will change.
So upgrading is really what you're doing. So by downsizing, you're upsizing your life. So downsize to upsize your life, to upgrade your life, make your life better. Like you were talking about your 900 square feet apartment and you were happy. And then it's almost disappointing, like, oh my gosh, we got to go through 3 storage units.
It was not fun.
We do everything that we can within our move management team to help people not end up that way to where you have a storage unit, because then you still have the overwhelm. If you look at our Empowered Senior logo, it's a little person in a heart house, because we talk about being heart-centered. People that serve seniors are heart-centered. And it's that overwhelm and just letting go. And then you just feel so much better, the relief. It's so stressful going through a downsizing move. I kind of relate it sometimes to having a baby. Like, everybody wants to touch your belly and tell you what their birth experience was like. And then mothers today could have their perfect birth plan, you know, that, oh, it's going to be just like this. We'll see. And sorry to tell you folks that that's how downsizing is too. It's not going to be perfect, but hopefully you get this beautiful thing in the end that just brings you so much joy and peace.
I think the peace is huge.
The word we hear from everyone, the universal word is overwhelm. I'm just so overwhelmed. They don't know they're saying our word, but they always say our word. And that word is overwhelmed. So we want to help you get from overwhelmed to overjoyed by incorporating these principles. All right, D.
My guest had a question.
Carol. Carol, by the way, it's her 91st birthday tomorrow. Carol, thank you for being here. That's fantastic. Let's sing happy birthday really quick.
Okay.
All right, ready? Happy birthday, Carol. I'm not going to sing, and you're welcome. Okay, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carol. Happy birthday to you, and many more.
She had a question about antiques.
A question about antiques, okay. And is that the entire question?
What do you do? Downsize. What do you think of antiques? Because antiques are a part of your ancestry.
That's right.
So antiques are a part of your ancestry. So what do you do about antiques?
Well, Carol, one thing, some good news is antiques are back in a big way. We're now we have this new trend, on trend in the design world, repurposing, reusing, and what was an antique somewhere can now be used somewhere else. That may not help Carol with what she has, but the only thing I know are consignment shops, estate sales, right?
Yes.
Because they're coming back. The smart ones are out there. Would you?
Sure. So your children may or may not want your antiques. Ask them, and don't put a guilt trip on them. They don't want it. They don't want it. Don't burden them. Be nice to your kids. We have to be good parents even if we're in our 90s.
Yeah, but
but
don't get rid of it.
If they want to,
Don't trash it.
They'll trash it, she said. What if they want to paint it? They might want to paint it. They might want to repurpose it. But here's what I really want to share with you is that there's a market for those things. So if your kids don't want it, guess what? Somebody else does want it. Release it out there into the world, release it out there into the universe, and someone will treasure it. And there are beautiful consignment shops in town. There are amazing estate sale companies in town. Let us help you find the right estate sale company for you so you have a good experience. And that's what we help you coordinate. That's what move management is. We help with all aspects of the tasks and things that need to be done. We anticipate and discover what tasks you might have. Some you'll know and you'll tell us. Some we'll figure out and we'll ask you about. And we just try to take all that off of you. or maybe you just want a suggestion on a estate sale company. But there's so many moving parts, it's very multi-layered, the whole process. So I know it's hard, but,
Okay.
and we've given 40 away, and you're going to do drawing for another book?
Yes.
Okay, so she's going to do a drawing for another book.
Yes.
So if you filled out her card, you'll be on her
wherever
email
Cindy is,
list.
Whoever has that packet.
And Cindy, if you have that little pink bag, we have one last chance to get
Oh.
on Mitzi's email list and to get in the drawing for another book. So if
Terry,
you
why
want to,
don't you pull it out?
anybody need to fill out a card real quick or turn a card in for Mitzi's list? Okay, I think we're good.
Thank you,
Good job,
Cindy.
Cindy.
Thank you.
All right, Terry's going to pull it out.
Can you read it, darling?
Again, Kathleen Hartman.
Kathleen Hartman.
All right.
Very good.
Kathleen, how do you spell it? K-A-T-H-L-E-N. I'll sign it, okay? And then I'll give it to you. Okay. I'm going to sign it.
Okay, she's going to sign it for her. That's fantastic. All right, can we answer any more questions? We have a few minutes left. Oh, good, there's a question back there. Cindy's coming to you.
What recommendations do you have for a spouse that is not on the same page?
Okay, so what recommendations do you have that for a spouse that's not on the same page as you are? Okay, good. She's got a thought, and that's something we cover in the Empowered Senior Series, some of the television episodes, and definitely something we'll be working on Downsizers Club, because there's a lot of conflict. We've been talking about the conflict in your own brain with your emotions, so you have inner conflict. You might have some inner conflict with the spouse. You have conflict with the adult kids, grandkids, so it's all very challenging.
Yes, it is. So here's what I have recommended to...
Microphone?
I'll get it together before we're done. Is that do it your own way, your own areas. How many, say it's a husband that doesn't want to deal with this. They don't care, most of them, about the china or all of their accessories. My husband did. He's an engineer, left, left, left. I'm right, right, right brain, a creative. And so, of course, we're going to come at this with different mindsets. So deal with the personalities. Where's that lovely lady that had the question? But basically, lead by example. You don't have to have agreement. You do your own thing in the areas that are your domain. And the one question that I hit Bob with was, what are the kids going to think about why you kept that? I mean, the reality is, my son, Bob was, like, oh, he was Bob the Builder, right? So the drill, the saw, the this, the that. We're in a villa, which is a condominium. They do all that. We have no more building. So he's saying, Dad, borrow it. My brother-in-law's there, has all that stuff. And then Brian really got it to him with all these screws and nails. Brian goes, Dad, if it's under $10, go buy it. Okay? So I hope that gives you a little inkling into basically do your own areas and lead by example, and just little reminders here and there, because it's kind of like teenagers. If we tell them, they're going to do the opposite. They're going to dig in and go, no, I need this. I'm not letting this go. Just I let that go. And then I let the other folks come in and take over that mindset that the wife couldn't get through to.
Good point, because with downsizing, if you wait too late, that's what happens with most seniors. is they withdraw and isolate, and then they don't want to do it. So if you do it when you're younger and more active, and take care of your future self while you still have that psychological ability to take care of your future self, get it done. So you're putting yourself in a good space. And talking about space is one of the spouses, one of the most loving thing that you can do for your spouse is help them get through this process and get it done. So if something happens to you, they're good. Help them get in the right spot so they don't have to do this alone. Now, I will tell you a couple of things. For men, we understand this industry, they can be very attached to all of their building stuff because it's very closely tied to their identity, where Pop can grab whatever he needs and go help take care of stuff. And so understand it's a really hard thing, and there's not just one easy answer. And you just kind of you bite one elephant at a time. We're going to talk about that in Downsizers Club. And also, this is something to tell you. A lot of times we'll have spouses telling on each other, and they'll say, well, he is keeping too much stuff. He wants to keep all that, blah, blah, blah. We'll have 2 move managers working with the spouses, and then we find out, oh, it's really the other one that's complaining about the other one that's really having a challenge. So I'd say just love your spouse. You're on this journey together, and usually the spouse will come along. Otherwise, you can just keep bringing it along anyway. A lot of times it's the wife that wants to downsize first, and the husbands will get on board. When it's the husband that wants to downsize, a lot of times it's because he recognizes that she's overwhelmed and that she's stressed, or that she has cognitive and physical decline. And so he comes to us because he wants to help her. It's love. Mm-hmm. Did that answer your question? Okay. I think that's a wrap. So we hope that you'll join us, whether it's watching the show, spreading the word, coming to the seminars, or participating in Downsizers Club. Reach out for any resources. Our Empowered Senior is a resource for the entire community. We thank you so much for being here, and a number of us will be here to visit and answer questions yet today, and you can call me anytime. My phone number is everywhere, 686-4500. You got me.
Just
All
to
right.
confirm.
Just to confirm.
Just to
yes.
confirm. Your phone
Thank
says
you very
good number.
much. Mitzi, thank you
you.
so much.